Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you got to check out my blog at all, but I'm actually a full time Christian minister with high school students. So, I don't know if
Oh,
you've heard of Campus Crusade for Christ,
yeah.
but yeah, we changed our name to Crew recently. So, my husband and I, Moses, we do the the high school division of it. So, that's
Awesome.
actually my day job, and then I have
Yeah.
this blog to kind of comment on pop culture and with a Christian perspective. So, kind of
Yeah.
give a lens for these young people to view culture,
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
kind of like take it in and don't think
Yeah.
about the the good and the bad of it, so
Yeah.
that's where I'm coming from.
Oh, I did check out your blog, but
Okay.
I didn't know that you were part of Campus Crusade. And I didn't even know Campus Crusade did high school
Oh,
stuff. I
most
thought it was
people
just
don't.
oh,
Yep, there's actually a
oh,
lot of different ministries like military and career people,
mm.
so yep, it's not that well known, but yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. And actually, I'm also a mom, so I scheduled this time because this is
Yeah.
when my kids nap. So,
Okay.
yep. So, here I have a couple dancer friends actually that had some questions for you too. So I'll be
Mhm.
asking some of those. So yeah, I have some friends that are here
Yeah.
on the East Coast that are dancers.
Yeah.
So, yep. So how did you start your dance career?
Oh gosh. I Oh, I was a gymnast first when I was a kid, when I was 5.5.
Wow.
And when I was 13, I decided that I wanted to stop, but my mom said that I couldn't not do anything. So she signed up my brother and I for dance, just like,
Okay,
I don't know.
randomly.
I think she thought it would be like a good transition or something.
Yeah.
But it was hip hop. It wasn't like she didn't sign me up for ballet. Um, but it was just like a week long dance camp. Um, and it's funny because both of my brother and I we love to dance, and I guess she just picked the right thing.
That's awesome.
And we both have made careers out of it ever since. Yeah, we both of us haven't really stopped since that camp.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So thanks, mom.
So when did you decide that it would be a career? Like,
No, that's a God's for sure. And my husband through dance. It just happened to be at the time where both of us were kind of starting to get offers to teach internationally, which
okay,
was really
that's
crazy for
awesome.
both of us. And that was all through, we friends put YouTube videos up, and we never really expected to get an opportunity like that.
Mm,
When that was happening, when I first met my husband, I didn't know Jesus yet. And maybe like 6 months after we got together, I was saved. And if fast forward a
mm-hmm.
few years, in 2010, we were doing this, and it was enough to pay for everything, but we weren't paying any
Oh
taxes,
yeah.
and we didn't have health insurance. Like, we didn't
Yeah.
know how to really take care of ourselves, and we felt like, all right, we should go back to school
Mm-hmm.
and get real jobs because these are real jobs.
Yeah.
And I signed up for like one class to get back into school, just like to get my feet wet again because it had been a while since I was in college. And I had graduated with my bachelor's already, and Keone had left school just because dance kind of took over. And I got a job at a coffee shop, and we had our friend Sean Evaristo came up to us in 2010 with this idea he had for a thing called Movement Lifestyle, which was at the time a management company for people like us, because he's also someone who would travel and teach a lot, and there wasn't really a way for us to get everything organized and just like make it legit. And basically, that was an answer to make dance legit. But
Mm-hmm.
because we had already decided, like, no, this is not the right path, we said no to him. And around that time, sorry, this backstory,
That's
I'm
fine.
remembering details the wrong time. At that time, we had we had done this performance at a show that was about God, and about it was basically the idea was just worship, and we were gonna share it online. That was gonna be like our last hurrah, and then we were not gonna like dance or put really stuff on YouTube anymore, and not try to pursue teaching. And Sean had these ideas for concept videos, which were basically like music videos without the singer, just like using shooting some dance in a cool storytelling kind of way. And so and we already had the idea to put out this stage performance, and we're like, okay, well, we'll just do it, just why not? And we can share this thing that we already wanted to share in a cool way. And we'll put it on Movement Lifestyles channel because they'll probably get more views. And or wait, did we put it on their channel? No, that one we didn't. Sorry, that one was on our channel. But we posted that, and we got a really good response. And we were really nervous about posting it because a lot of times when you put anything having to do with religion on the internet, you always get people who are upset by it or don't agree, and they're very vocal about it. But like, people were not being that way at all. It was crazy. People were really supportive, and people were really open. And we got a message from somebody via our YouTube about that dance, and they shared with us that they were about to take their own life.
Wow.
And they saw the video, and that they changed their mind, and that they felt that God had used it to talk to them, to and stepped in at that crazy moment. And I remember that so well because Keone and I, we were just sitting in his mom's kitchen, and he's like, hey, you got it, and you read it, and he's like, you need to come read this. And we were just both crying, and we knew at that moment, we're like, okay, we need to dance. And we knew that we had to do it for God. That had to be like the focus, and that He would provide for us, and that so we had planned this whole thing, and then He was just like, no.
Nice.
It's gonna go this way. So and ever since then, we're like, okay, I quit my job at the coffee shop. I just did the class online. And we just kept traveling, and it's like Movement Lifestyle opened up a whole bunch of doors for us. And
that's awesome.
The rest is history.
Cool.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned this, but walk us through like your faith journey. Like when you met your husband around that time is when you got saved or whatever. But you know, was there a backstory to that? Were you always kind of seeking?
Yeah, the way my mom was raised Catholic, like most Filipinos, but she grew up and she kind of became anti-church. And my dad wasn't raised with any church at all. And so I don't like to say my parents are atheists. I don't think they're like strong, but it's just very like, when growing up, religion was not like valued at all. It was talked about, was usually negatively, and it was usually that like they had not a very good view of the church, and people, specifically people who believed in Jesus, which is really like funny to me now, like looking back. So I was really kind of like, didn't ever want to go to church. I had friends who would invite me in high school, and I would just like make fun of them and just be really rude. So I never thought, I was never open. And it wasn't until I met Keone, I really, really liked him. And he shared with me before we started dating just that he shared his faith, and he didn't push anything on me. He just said, this is really important to me, and if we're going to be together, this is like, you need to know that this is important to me. And I respected that, and I respected so much that he didn't like force anything on me, or that we could like disagree and it was okay. We did church, and I was open to going just because I liked him. And I went to church a couple times just to kind of be with him and just hang out with him. Because at the time we lived in two different cities, so when I would come visit him, I would just be with him all the time, just do whatever he did. And he took me to one church where I felt like I was the only person in the church and the pastor was talking directly to me. It was just like one of those sermons where I was just like, whoa. It really, really spoke to me. And I felt like a little bit of conviction, but way more than that, I felt like this crazy desire to create, like a really strong urge. And it was really positive and really weird. And I remember going back home to the Bay and telling my roommate about this experience, and he's like, okay, but don't turn into a crazy Christian. I was like, no. It was just like I was so surprised to have a good experience at church, and I, like going in for the first time, I saw that it wasn't what I thought it was. It was just like it was so diverse. People who were young were there. I never imagined that like young people went to church, and just the structure of it. Like, and the pastor was, I don't know, relatable. Just talking about things that have to do with the Bible, but also have to do with your real everyday life. So I saw what it was, and I just became more and more curious. And Keone was always really, really open, really gentle. Like he gave me a book or two to read, and I was on this teaching job for 2 months in Canada, where I was by myself. I was living in an apartment alone, and teaching every day at the studio, and I had a lot of time to, like all the daytimes, because class wouldn't be until night. To just do whatever. There's nothing to do in that place. It was like really far outside Montreal, and just kind of like in a neighborhood. And so I would read, and I started listening to sermons, and then I started listening to sermons on my iPod and like walking around the neighborhood a lot. And I don't even know how or when or what the moment was, but I was saved within that time. And I have a journal still where I'm writing about philosophy, because I was reading this book also about philosophy, and then you turn the page, and I had drawn a cross, and inside of the cross I wrote, "This is all that matters now." And I have no idea like when that moment was, but I have like a physical representation that it happened, and everything changed after that.
So you guys do a lot of different projects, classes and stuff. How do you avoid doing the same moves? Like, how do you get new inspiration? Do you listen to music, walk around nature? What kind of things do you do?
Oh my gosh, a lot of things. I think it's funny. I think both of us get a lot of inspiration when we're driving and listening to music. Okay. Because we live in San Diego, and we're in the car a lot, and I don't know what it is about driving. I think maybe just driving on the freeway and having music be really loud and just feeling like engulfed in it a little bit, and you start getting ideas. Conceptually, I think that's where we get a lot of ideas. And then movement-wise, I don't know. I think we really love to learn. Even though we love to teach, we really love to take other people's classes and learn new things about dance. And whenever we get to do that, we feel re-inspired, and then our movement tends to like slowly start to change, and we start to explore new things. And it's just always been that slow process. So yeah, but then just inspiration-wise, like it can be from anything, like anything. I remember we made a piece that was inspired by Keone's little brother when he was like 4, and just like there were some moves in there that were like imagining how like a kid that age moves and what he does, and obviously like God inspires all the time, and the Bible. I had a piece this summer that I got to teach that was like inspired by Job, and I got to share that with people in class, which is like, really, really awesome that I got to share that with a big group of people who like, I know that not everybody knows Jesus, but they can like connect to music and to movement, and I don't know, things happen.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That kind of relates to one of the questions, like how do you balance that, like being a Bible thumping Christian versus like, just being real about your faith? And the entertainment industry is not really, they don't really accept Christians. So how is that balance like as a dancer and a teacher?
I think just being uh, like being kind to everybody and respectful, but then also respectfully like declining things if you aren't comfortable doing them. Yeah, and you don't have to be a jerk about it. I think just like being aware of your decisions, and really like, I don't know, and then praying about things too, obviously. And you know, there have been times where I walked out of classes because like there was one class, and I won't say who was teaching it, but like somebody that I like, we have a good relationship, but I had to leave the class because the song was like so horrible, and especially like horrible to women, and I like couldn't take it. I couldn't do it, and I felt like I couldn't be in there, so I left, which is like against my class etiquette thing, but I couldn't be in there, and then I had to tell him afterwards, like, hey, I love you, but you know, I just, for me, I couldn't, my heart couldn't be in really your moves. It was more the music, and he understood. And it was also an opportunity for me to, I try to look at it as an opportunity to like, be like, hey, stand up for what I believe in. And also maybe some, like, I don't know if he thought for a second, like, okay, well, maybe I should think about these things, or just like be aware that not everyone is always on board all the time. So, yeah, I think just you know, you know when I don't know, God wouldn't want you to be doing something, and yeah.
That relates also to like you as a woman. How do you balance the moves that are like too sexual and stuff? Like how do you decide what, you know, what to participate in and whatever?
Oh yeah, woman? I feel really strongly about that because before I was Christian, I used to dance a lot like that. And I felt after I was saved, I started feeling conviction, and like what is this? But I'm so happy that I did, because I felt like it pushed me creatively, and made me grow up a little bit. And then also, like, I don't know, like I think about being a mom, and I think about showing my children my work and wanting them to be or wanting to be proud of it, and wanting to not be embarrassed or feel like, you know, if I have a daughter, like, I don't, mom does this, but you can't do it.
Yeah,
you know?
that is so true.
Yeah, so again, just like, if I'm not comfortable with something, I won't do it. And if I find myself in a situation, then I just have to adjust things. But usually, like, I'm not going to walk into a twerking class because I know, like, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel very, very strongly that, like, there's this, you know, it's a lot of, I don't know, like Beyonce and, like, all of these things. It's, like, branded or as feminism to be that way, but I don't believe in, like, I don't agree with that. And so I try to be, I try to push my own work and push myself and keep integrity within what I put out, and just how I conduct myself, even like on the internet and like everywhere, interacting with people, interacting with students, like all of that matters. All those things.
So what are the pros and cons of having a husband who shares a career path with you? Like, do you feel like you guys get on each other's nerves because you do too much together? Like, does that happen? Or
of course. Of course.
Walk us through that, the pros and the cons.
Yeah, so I would say I'm going to do cons first. I think cons are that sometimes it's out of balance. It's hard to find balance because we're working all the time, and then just the nature of our jobs is not like consistent. It's not like we go to work every day together from 9 to 5 and then we can come home and just be a normal couple at home. Work is like in our home. Every day we'll be sitting around, if one of us has answered emails or doing like talking, we have to decide something for a job, like, and we have to know now, like, we have to have those conversations constantly throughout the day. When we choreograph together, we fight like any normal couple who would do that. It's hard to create together, but we found a way, I don't know, to do it. And I feel like, you know, on the other side of that, it's pushed us to like really like treat each other with love and learn how to communicate. We never, like, like we do get on each other's nerves, or like we'll fight or bicker about things, but ultimately like we love each other, and that's way more important. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, we still don't get sick of each other. We still love to be around each other constantly. Even like it's the weirdest thing. Like even if we're bickering, I still like I'd love to be with him, and and I know he feels the same way, and I know that there's like not anyone else in the world I think that I could be around like that much, because you're literally together all the time. So and with that, like what's wonderful about that is that we share so many memories together. We've met all of the same people. We've had all of these adventures together. We've gotten to travel and see the world and have amazing moments and experiences. And we get to talk about them, and we think about like getting to share that with our kids, and so that's a huge blessing. So there's always there's always
pros and
something.
cons.
Yeah, but so much more good than struggle, I think.
Yeah. I'm sure there are parallels with dancing and marriage. Do you have any of those? Like, I'm not a dancer, but Moses and I, my husband, we took like a salsa dancing class once, and I realized right away, like the letting him lead thing is like an automatic, like parallel for marriage. Like it's really hard for women. So like, what are those kind of things you think parallels for dancing and being in a relationship?
I think especially with partner work, there are so many. Just like communication is a huge thing. Having to work together to make something happen. It's not about you anymore. It's about your partner. And I think that also just like what you share together can be really, really powerful if like it's pure and like good, and you're respectful of one another and you work together. I don't know, there's something about our partner work that seems to speak to people a lot. And I love dancing with him, and we always tell our students when we're teaching partner stuff that what matters is your partner, and that like the performance is not really like for everyone else. You perform like to each other, but like that little intimate space between the two of you ends up being super powerful to everyone on the outside. So I think that kind of parallels with marriage. Like the way you are to each other is doesn't just affect the two of you, it affects other people around you.
I mean, I guess your career kind of jumped off when you guys got married, but how have you seen like your ministry or effect on people change now that you're together dancing versus when you were separate?
Gosh, I've never thought about that really. I guess just because we've always been together, and like for me, just ministry wise, I feel like my journey as a Christian kind of started when Keone and I were starting to choreograph together. But I definitely, or both of us, we definitely noticed that, like I said, like there's something about us doing things together that like people relate to, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that like we're a couple in real life, and that not only are we together, but now that we're married, it's like we're legit, I guess, and and that we work together, and I don't know. I think especially because we work with a lot of young people, and both of us, we know how important like it is to represent God, but also to represent marriage, like just the institution of marriage, and how that's shifting, and how it has in the last years, and just like that like godly marriage is super important for us. It's important how we talk to each other. It's important how we are, to behind closed doors, but also in front of other people. Like we really both really, really care about the influence that God has given us, like however big or small. Yeah, we know that's a lot bigger than us.
Yeah, I think the same thing with Moses and I. So we're in New York City, and I feel like I was always trying to figure out how can my ministry look whatever be more effective for God, and he just kind of was like, well, if you have a good marriage and good family, especially because we're in the inner city where everybody's like raised by single moms, like it sounds so simple, but that's what they need. Like it's just
Yeah.
the fact that this exists, a whole
Yeah.
family, so
Yeah.
it's crazy how simple things are.
It,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I too, like, I don't realize it as much. It just seems normal to me because I'm very, very blessed to have uh, my parents have a healthy,
That's
happy
awesome.
marriage. They've been married, uh, and then I just have my one brother, and like our family is close and uncomplicated. So I know I'm very blessed to have that. But I know it's not like that for everyone.
Yeah, it's actually
It's
not
like,
common at all.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And I think young people, they really do still believe in marriage. It's just they've not seen it work,
yeah.
So it's good to be a
So
part
it's
of that.
really skeptical.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
do you have anything to say to like young people who have, yeah, who want to be married, but they kind of lost faith in it? Like, I feel like people start living together and all that because it's like, well, they don't want to jump into marriage and then get divorced. Like, what would you like to say to young women or just young people about marriage? Like, it's not portrayed well in movies. It's like a prison, But what is real marriage like? What is the joy of marriage, I guess, for you?
The joy of marriage, I think it's just, I mean, it's having a companion and sharing a life with somebody. Just we tell our students a lot in classes that life is better shared with others. It just is. You share experiences, and whether that's friends or family, like value those things over anything else, because like at the end of everything, what do you really have? Um, so yeah, I think, and then with marriage, it's like the most intimate relationship, and then also if you're somebody who believes in God, like it's a God thing too, and I mean that's honestly how I think like the easiest way to have a successful marriage is you both know and you both love God, because that ultimately is your bottom line. So when you reach struggles, because you can't expect it to just like things to just be smooth. You're meant to like go through life together, both ups and downs. That you don't let downs defeat you, because God is always there with you. And I've actually found that like we grow closer when we go through difficult things. Definitely, and to not be afraid of that. And yeah, I think like fear of something and avoiding it it doesn't serve you well. It doesn't help you as a person, doesn't build your character. Yeah, but I also think that marriage is something that's really serious, and like don't take it lightly. And once you make that promise, you can't go back on it, because you can't. Yeah, so like choose wisely if you're gonna get married, and just make sure. I think like you're on the same page as the other person always. Yeah, and like too, also with us, like it's worth it to wait for things. It is like Keone and I, we, like I said, like when we first started dating, I wasn't saved, and like I think I don't know how long it took. Like basically, we had the sex life, and then maybe like 9 months in, I like knew that God was telling us to take that out, or we both did, And yeah, so we took that out of our relationship, which for like a modern relationship sounds insane. But we didn't have sex for, how many years was it? A little over 3 years.
Wow. After you started dating.
Yeah. And we stayed true to that. And it, like, I don't know, it was really good to save that, because we said we were okay, we're going to save that for being married. And we didn't live together until we were married. I don't know, it just felt like God wanted that. And we got to be tested in our relationship other ways because we were working together. So we got to, like, I think people, like, they move in together because they want to make sure, yeah, like you said, they want to make sure like it works before they commit. But I think there are other ways that you can do that. I know everyone finds people do things differently, but yeah.
You were happy with your choices.
That's all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My gosh. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any other projects that you could talk about that are coming up, or?
Yeah. Keone and I'm not sure the specifics, what we could say, but generally, in the future, like, we have our studio, Building Block, which is a small private dance studio. That means is we just work with people, usually one-on-one, or up to 3 people. So the focus is more like mentoring, I guess. Really, and working with people on dance and just like whatever it is that they want to work on. So we have this. It's more like a program that we've been developing over the last year, and then starting in January, we're going to be working on some like bigger theater shows. There's there's a musical in Amsterdam, and another one in London, and then there's another big show in New York. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So
let me know when that happens.
We'll be working on all those things in 2016 for the first half of the year. But yeah,
that's cool.
I would say more, but
you don't know you're allowed to talk about.
Yeah,
that's fine. So how are just for the last question, how are 2 or 3 ways my readers and I could be praying for you and Keone?
Oh, yes. I think always just like our lives are really sporadic. They're kind of like we always are having to go here and there and everywhere, and it's not a constant thing. So I think keeping balance and staying connected to God all the time, just staying consistent. Like even though we're going here and there and everywhere, I think those are always like my biggest ones. And yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, Mari.
Bye.